All right, we're going to jump in today. The markets are bouncing all over the place. Bitcoin bouncing up and down over the weekend. Strategy pre-market last night bouncing way down, even pre-market this morning, and at opening this morning was way down and bouncing back up after hours. So let's take a look at what's happening with Bitcoin, what's happening with strategy, not financial advice on this. But also, let's take a look at what's happening with the tariffs. There's been a lot of news with the Trump tariffs today. And I want to break it down simply and take a look at this together to understand what's actually happening and what's going on, and to see if we can understand this together. So, the simplicity of the tariffs, to break this down in very simple language, is uh, the US buys a ton of stuff from other countries, but we don't sell them nearly as much back. Or you could say the US buys a ton from other countries and other countries no buy a lot back, okay? To put it very simple. So that's called a trade deficit. So when you hear this talk going around the world about what is happening with these trade deficits, what's happening with the true tariff rates that we're seeing, the basic gist of this is just very simple of what I said. The US is buying a lot from other countries, and Trump wants to balance things out. Now, there's two areas here that are being looked at. One is the taxes that are being put on the US when we decide to export our goods to another country. So when we sell our goods to another country and they buy them, the taxes that we're paying in most cases are higher. But when we buy goods from other countries, which we're buying a lot, and that's part of the imbalance, US buys a lot more from other countries than they buy from us. So when we buy from those other countries and we're bringing their goods into our economy, then our tax rates on their goods are lower. And so there's two problems here that Trump is trying to solve. And much of it is being getting remedied today with 60 to 70 countries that have written in that want to do negotiations with the United States. So the market's bouncing up and down and all over the place. And everybody going, what is going on? Are we going into recession? What's going to happen with the markets? We're seeing some good news in terms of people coming to the table to negotiate. And that is strong. And so I'll cite a few examples of who came to the table. The Prime Minister of Israel came to the table today. He met with Trump. This was broadcasted live, and he wants to have fair trade with the United States. So this is news that the rest of the world is starting to say we would like to negotiate. And rather than retaliation that you're hearing that could happen in a trade war, such as China retaliating and hitting back hard, many countries are coming to the table to negotiate. And that is going to end, I believe, in good news. Now, it's going to take a month to 2 months and probably 2 months for all these negotiations to take place. You're talking about 60 to 70 countries. And the word is that Trump is going to have these meetings himself, and he's going to negotiate with these countries. So you can imagine Trump meeting with 60 to 70 different countries. It's going to happen over the next couple of months, and it's already starting to happen. Prime Minister of Israel today, live broadcasted, they are agreeing to terms to trade with the United States fairly. And so when you look at the tables here, this is important to understand, because as we look at the tables of imbalance here, and this is the U.S. Census Bureau, and when you look at different places, you're going to get mixed data, but this is pre-April 2025. So we know that the tariffs came in place as of April 2nd. Trump announced this. The markets went a little bananas. We see that on Friday, strategy held at 293. We see that Bitcoin held around 84 at the time. And then over the weekend, on Sunday, the news stations started hitting. There was a lot of news coming out. Bitcoin dropped down really low. Strategy dropped really low at market open today, around 254 at its lowest. And now you're seeing them rebound. So why are they rebounding? We're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about what's happening for the future of this. But if you look at the imbalance here, The trade deficit you see here between China and the United States is $295 billion, which basically means that we buy more goods from China than they buy from us. Now, why is this a problem? Okay. And why is Trump solving this, which is the smart thing to do? And if you look at the imbalance here, there is an imbalance where the US is, when we sell goods to China, we're paying a higher tax with our goods that go into their country. So we're paying a 21% tax versus when we bring their goods into our country, there's a 19% tax on them, I should say. Okay. So we hit them with a 19% tax. So there is an imbalance there where the taxes on their end are higher than the taxes on our end. Very simple. So there's two imbalances with China that are super glaring, and it's not in exchange. It's just completely out exchange. One, the taxes are higher, so the tariffs are higher with China. And two, the problem is, if you look back to early 2001, okay? So in early 2001, we were in a situation, and there was something that was called the China joined the World Trade Club, okay, in 2001. And in 2004, China was flooding the US with cheap goods, and we couldn't compete. So factories began to shut down in the United States, and over 2 million jobs were gone. So they called this the China shock, and it hit hard. Now, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, that you're seeing all over the news right now, and he's kind of like the PR guy of the United States because he has a lot of knowledge on capital markets. And he's basically saying we can't let this happen again. So that's what he's saying to the news of this. We can't let this happen again because this happened in 2004 and it crept into the United States economy and people lost jobs. So what Trump is saying that we need to bring jobs back to the US economy. And the way that we're trading with China right now does not do that. The way that we're trading with China right now is we buy their goods. We buy $295 billion more of goods that fund their economy, that goes into creating jobs in their economy, that makes their economy strong. And then if you look at what China does with some of their money, one of the buyers of US treasuries is China. So, and one of the buyers of US land is China. So China comes back in with their wealth, and then they come up and they buy up US land. And so they own land, in the United States, and they buy US treasuries. So essentially they're loaning us money and we're paying them an interest rate out. So essentially we're in debt to them when that happens. Okay. So this is a problem. And so all Trump is saying, and it's probably China that will likely resist on this and retaliate, as they are holding off on this because they have the biggest imbalance per se in terms of the trade deficit. So I would consider them out exchange with us. We're very good in providing surplus of money and jobs to their economy and less tax as we're reciprocating on taxes. Ours is less. And so we're very good at doing that. And they're not good on both cases. So this is a very good move for what's happening right now. And Trump is forcing people to the table, and they are coming to the table to negotiate. Approximately 60 to 70 countries, it's already been confirmed, are coming to the table to negotiate. So when you look at these imbalances and you look all along the tariff on U.S. goods, Mexico, 4.5%, the U.S. charging 0.1%, imbalance. Vietnam, 10%, the U.S. 2%, imbalance. Germany, 6%, the U.S. 1.5%. Japan, 2.5%, 1.3%, 2%, 1.2%, Ireland. There's an imbalance all the way down the line here. And so not only is there an imbalance on the tariffs in terms of the tax, but the trade deficit means we buy more goods from you, you buy less goods from us. We want to even it out. It's fair. It's fair trade. And these tables show it. Now, this is the U.S. Census Bureau. This is pre-April 2025. So now if you want to go down the line and you want to look and actually see the actual numbers of what we hit them back with, the numbers that we hit them back with was we hit We hit China back with 34% tax, and of course they retaliated on that. Europe, we hit back with 20%, Mexico 25%, Canada 10%, and Australia 10%. We buy $3 billion a year of beef from Australia. $3 billion. Yet Australia will not let us export our beef to their country. So there's trade imbalances, which is why they got whacked with a tariff as well. Everybody got whacked with tariffs. So all that's happening here is Trump's going, no more, no longer. He's saying, okay, we're going to have jobs in the United States. This is just sane business. Like if you ran a business and you were doing business with somebody and you were like, hey, I'm going to buy $480 billion or so a year from you, and you're only buying $130 billion a year from me. So I buy lots from you, you buy much less from me. Hey, you tax me more, I tax you less more. Would you do business like that? Would you be in a relationship like that? No, you wouldn't. So all he's saying is let's level the playing field. And the countries are coming to the table. Looks like Japan is going to come to the table now as well. And we have a long history with Japan in trade. And so it looks like they're coming to the table as well. And so people are coming to the table to negotiate trades, which in the long term is good for the United States. It's also good for economies when worlds come together and create fair trade. It would be like, okay, let's continue to do business. And I get that the US world economy is larger than many of the other economies. It's head for head. China and the US seem about the same in terms of GDP. So with that, the balance is way tilted in the other way. If our GDP is the same and we're the same size, but we buy way more for them and then the tax is imbalanced, then of course that's not fair. And China will probably be the last to come to the table because they're the most out exchange with the United States, period. And when people are out exchange with the United States or out exchange with anybody, it becomes a criminal relationship, period. So let's level the playing field. Let's balance it out. And that's what fair trade is. And so the shaking in the market, Trump's not bending on it. People think he's going to bend. He's not going to bend, but he's going to negotiate and he's going to put fair things in. But he's not going to all of a sudden just release the tariffs until the negotiations bring people to the table or the tariffs bring people to the table. And now they're negotiating. So Prime Minister, good news. They will drop all trade barriers is what he said. Vietnam, India, UK, 60 plus countries already sent letters to negotiate. This is in. China's still holding out. And we know that the S&P 500 ended up today, so that's good news. Tesla, if you look at Tesla, was down, and in the aftermarkets, it's way up. I think Tesla's up about 15%. MicroStrategy's up after hours right now. If we pulled up the ticker right now and looked at MicroStrategy, it was up 276 last I checked. It closed at 268. And Bitcoin, last I checked, I don't have the ticker in front of me now, was around $79,000. And the Japanese stock market jumped up 6%. So here's what Trump posted on Truth Social. He said to Jerome Powell, he said, this would be a perfect time for Powell to cut interest rates. Inflation is down. Eggs are down 69%. Jobs are up. Cut the rates, Jerome. Powell didn't respond, but Powell's response last week in his actual press conference that he has, it says, we're watching. If needed, we'll act, but no rush. That's his response to the cutting of interest rates. Okay. So this is what's going on in the economy. It's fascinating news to see what's happening. Obviously, it's lots of turbulence and lots of people are in angst about it. I was watching one reporter who was in total angst today of like, come on, do something for us for the markets. And he was talking to the Treasury Secretary on it. But there is something being done, and it's not in the direction that we all want it to go right now. And of course, many people are losing money in the stock market. But I think over the next 2 months, my prediction is that the Fed will cut rates. I think in June, we're definitely going to have a rate cut. Maybe Trump will force Powell's hand earlier than that. I don't necessarily think so, based on their dialogue right now, but we'll see. And then when the interest rates get cut, the beautiful thing about that is where interest rates go down, that means that people are going to be taking loans. and it's easier to borrow money. Companies are going to be investing more money back into their own companies because they have lower interest rates on their loans. People are going to buy houses. And when interest rates get lowered, there's more free money, and more free money creates spending in the economy and also creates money going into investments. So typically, when interest rates get lowered, more people put money back into investments. And we know that right now, a lot of money is flowing into the safe money, which is the 10-year treasuries, which have also been dropping, as you heard in my last video, from about 4.7% to 3.9% over the last couple of weeks. So a lot of money is flowing into those safe investments, but my belief is that money is going to go into Bitcoin instead. So I know that Peter Thiel, or Schiff, I should say, Peter Schiff, I want to make sure I'm correct on that. Peter Schiff is kind of trolling Michael Saylor on trolling him and giving him a tough time about strategy because he's a gold bug, Peter Schiff, big gold bug, and they've had these debates and wars over the years. If you watched in 2020, they had interviews and debates together. They still have debates back and forth on social media. Obviously, Schiff is very pro gold and all into gold. Obviously, Saylor is all into Bitcoin. And so the two go back and forth on stuff. And Schiff is recently trolling him on stuff. So good news in the markets too. Just kind of cool to see that more and more people are adopting playbooks. There's a new company called Janover they're a real estate company plus AI, and they're now jumping into crypto. So what Strategy has been doing with Bitcoin, this company Janover is doing with Solana, and they're actually going to be buying Solana and putting Solana on the balance sheet. So they raised $42 million to do that. So you see more and more companies that are adopting the MicroStrategy playbook, not per se, because that's companies not buying Bitcoin, but you see more and more companies that are getting innovative and looking for ways to do something. And I also got to believe that based on the economy and how things are going right now, people are looking to innovate and reinvent their business models. And so with all of that and all the news about the tariffs and all that's happening right now with warnings of recession and all the things that's happening right now with inflation going down, it might be a time for the Fed to cut the interest rates. Okay. So the indicators are pointing towards that likely going to happen in June, in my opinion. All right. So hope this serves you. Metagirl says China is hard-headed. Understood. We got Peter saying no matter what, China needs to fail. I hear you on that. So it's just an interesting thing that's happening in the markets, and I think Trump's going to come out with a good negotiation and fair trade with countries, and I hope that it's a win-win for everybody. You know, that's my goal on it, is for it to be a win-win for everybody, and that the markets go up for everybody globally, not just the U.S. But this move creates fair trade, and the markets go up, and everybody wins, and it gets rid of the imbalance that's been going on for a long time. Now, you could sit here and say there's plenty of imbalances of the U.S. towards other countries, and you would have to take them up one point at a time, and I'm not going to argue that. But in this particular case, you just look at the data for tariffs, and this is the particular thing that's being handled. And so when you look at the data and the numbers, it makes sense for something to be done in this specific scenario, okay? So I wish everybody the best, no matter what country anybody's from. I hope that it works out. I hope that things go well. I know it's working well with Israel and the U.S. now. I think that things are going to come soon with Japan and the U.S. And I think a lot of other countries are going to follow. And I think it's going to be great. So rebound for the markets, not financial advice, not tax advice, not legal advice in these videos. But let's hope for a rebound for the markets sooner. And let's hope that it goes straight up and vertical when we have the rebounds and we get our bull run. I still say that the bull run is not over at all. And I think we are going to have a run in 2025, and I still continue to remain bullish on all of my picks with strategy and my price points on strategy. I still remain bullish on my picks with Bitcoin. And those are the two that I have the most invested in. So hope you guys are doing great and have a terrific day. Hang tight. You know, it's tough, but it's also good to look at what's actually happening rather than getting caught up in the FUD. And we know that Trump is pro crypto. So let's not forget that. It's easy to get caught up in the fear and the confusion of, look what's going on. The world's coming to an end. Oh my God, the media is like you got reporters just yelling. Some of these media channels I turn on, they're yelling at the Treasury Secretary. And they're like yelling, and they're angry, and they're antagonistic. It's like, come on, man. Like just ask some questions and do an interview. No reason to get antagonistic towards people that are trying to do their job in the US government, you know? So I think that it's important to pay attention to good news, but good news that has data to back it up. And that's why I'm just trying to give you data. It's no doubt that the markets are down, and it's no doubt that we're not in the position that we want to be in. But when you look at what Trump is actually doing and you analyze the data, you have to look at both things. You got to look at the deficit and you got to look at the tariffs, and you got to look at both of them together. And in closing, I'm just going to say it one more time. If I'm in business with you, and let's say I'm China and you're the US, and you're buying $480 billion worth of goods from me a year, and I, as China, am only buying $130 billion. Excuse me. If I'm China, and I'm buying, the US is buying $430 billion worth of goods from China every year. So if I'm buying $430 billion of goods from you, and you're only buying $130 billion of goods from me, at some point I'm going to stop and be like, yo, I'm buying a lot from you. What's the deal? Like, why won't you buy more from me? I keep buying from you and I keep funding your economy. I keep buying from you and I keep giving jobs in your economy. And when I buy from you, and when we reverse the flows, you're taxing me more. So not only do I buy more from you, but I'm more tax friendly to you. That's not fair. So that's what's going on. And so when Trump reports the numbers, I think people are having trouble making sense of what the numbers are, but you have to look at both. You have to look at the tax rates and you have to look at the trade deficit. And you can sit here and make the case all day long that because the US is bigger, of course, these smaller countries aren't going to keep up and there's going to be a trade deficit. Okay, understood. But like, even if I'm still buying more money from you, buying more goods from you, so I'm still buying more goods from you and funding your economy, wouldn't you adjust your tax rates for me? I mean, so there's that logic, right? Okay, I'm so much smaller than you, I can't buy as much from you. Okay, I get that. I get that. But why are the tax rates not fair then? So you got to look at both. And so if you have large economies like Japan and the US or China and the US with very large economies, and there's such imbalance on the trade deficit where I buy more from you and the taxes, no. I can understand it with other countries that are smaller and wait, okay, we buy more from you. We're a bigger country. We have more money. I understand that. But why are the taxes not like that? Like normally when you buy a lot from somebody, you get a good deal. You don't get a worse deal, right? If you buy in surplus from somebody, go do business. Buy surplus. Do you normally get a better deal? Yeah. So we're buying in surplus from every country around the world. And this is not a disrespect to any country, right? It's just the fact that we're buying in surplus from every country. We're buying more. So shouldn't we get a better deal, or at least a fair deal? That's it. And if you were doing business with me and I said the same thing, you would go, yeah, we should do a fair deal, particularly on the tax side, because I'm buying more from you. It's just logic, man. And the fact that the media can't see the logic, and the fact that the Democrats, no offense, are screaming from the top of their lungs, they just don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Scream at the top of their lungs that the tariffs are a bad idea and this and that. No, it's fair trade, man. I think it's a great idea. And do I like that it's rocking the markets? No, I don't at all. Do I like that the markets are down? Not at all. Am I sitting here going on a Sunday like, oh my God, Trump is rocking the markets right now? Yeah, I'm feeling the effects of it too. So this is finance about politics, but the logic of data, of trade, you just got to make the playing field a little bit more level in this situation. Now you can take any other situation, and there's probably other situations where the US is out of balance with other countries in other ways. I'm sure you can find them. I'm just talking about this situation. That's it. Okay. This specific thing. So couple months of negotiations we got. Hopefully they'll come to the table as fast as possible, pop them off and get the big players in. And my expectation is that China will hold out and hold out and hold out, and that'll be the scene. Okay. So hope it serves you. Hope you guys are doing well. Have a great rest of the day. And, share this with somebody if you want to spread some good news about, what's going on from a logical standpoint. All right. Talk to you soon.